This is CBC Here and Now.
I guess I've become immune to it. It's just an everyday thing, and to figure out what people are thinking, you can't be thinking, or just get used to it, I guess, if there's any such thing.
Whoa, a truck driver on the province's west coast captures near catastrophe on the TCH.
And he says he witnesses these kinds of near misses far too often. We'll see more of his videos and hear what he has to say about this province's drivers.
Well, if you've been procrastinating putting on your snow tires, you might want to get that done. The next system will likely bring significant snow to parts of the island on Thursday.
We've seen 9 of 10 people who were not vaccinated who have died of COVID-19.
More COVID-19 deaths in central Newfoundland than from any other outbreak in the province.
Why was the central cluster so deadly?
In the second half hour, our Peter Cowan speaks with the medical officer of health for the central region. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Those stories just ahead, but first, a development in court today involving the killing of a 20-year-old man last year.
A St. John's family in emotional shock tonight after 3 people accused of killing their cousin had the cases against them dropped. 20-year-old Brandon Leftault died on April 2nd of 2020. A young man and 2 youths were charged in his death. But as Ariana Kellen reports, the family says 2 people died that day.
Elaine and Mallory Ward came to court expecting the worst. They were warned ahead of time that the people accused of killing their young cousin Brandon Leftault would walk away free. 19-year-old Jonathan Methodakis didn't have to appear. His lawyer was there on his behalf. 2 young men who were teens at the time of Leftault's death can't be identified. It took less than 5 minutes for the charges of manslaughter and robbery to disappear. The Crown says Leftault's tragic death happened when 2 groups of teens fought, all over marijuana. But there was an unlikelihood of conviction.
Witnesses had inconsistency in their statements. It was very emotional, even for the boys that were with Brandon at that night. Too many holes in the stories that couldn't be answered. The murder weapon was never established. Who had brought it? It was never found.
The Wards say the police and Crown prosecutors did everything they could, and they say they're thankful. Leftault died of a stab wound to his leg on a quiet street in the Goulds neighborhood of St. John's. His mother, Diane, moved her only son from El Paso, Texas to Newfoundland about a decade earlier. She wanted to get away from the violence. Diane took her own life 4 months after her son's death.
She didn't believe that she could live through the investigation. She believed that she told us from the beginning that nobody would be held responsible. So some way, somehow she knew, and she didn't want to put herself through it. She had actually wrote her victim impact statement before she passed. Unfortunately, we never got a chance to read it for her.
Mallory and Elaine Ward are remembering Brandon as an intelligent, funny teen whose trademark was this top hat, and Diane as a mother who loved her son more than life itself. Their deaths, the Wards say, fall on those who killed Brandon Leftault that night.
It was a tragedy. It still is a tragedy. And what happened that everybody walked, you got to ask yourself the question, what is a life worth?
Ariana Kellen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, convicted killer Philip Pinn is among 4 people arrested last night for an alleged kidnapping. The RNC was notified of a potential abduction of a 27-year-old man after 10 o'clock last night. Shortly after, they found the suspect vehicle on Old Broad Cove Road in Portugal Cove, St. Philip's. They stopped the vehicle and 5 people were inside, including the alleged victim. Now, besides Pinn, 2 men and a woman from St. John's each face 1 count of kidnapping and extortion. The woman was released on bail. The others are back in court tomorrow. A 35-year-old Pinn faces charges of kidnapping, extortion, breaching a probation order, and breaching a recognizance order. Pinn has a lengthy criminal record, including more than 100 charges in this province. He was convicted of manslaughter in 2014 for killing his friend Nick Windsor during a robbery.
Well, it was a wet and windy day across the province, or at least across the island, with those warm temperatures. Now, that area of low pressure to the north and that cold front has swung through, and it's taking that rain with it. Most of the rain has now ended for eastern areas of the island, and those temperatures dropped. You certainly noticed that earlier today in Corner Brook, 12 degrees by 10 a.m., and then they dropped like a rock into the afternoon, down to about 1 degree right now. And we saw some gusty winds as well up across eastern areas. This is St. John's, so we saw that temperature bump up to 15 degrees. That's a new record today, with winds gusting near 100 kilometers per hour as that cold front swept through. Temperatures have dropped, and those winds have shifted westerly. So we are going to see these winds continue up across Labrador, and the reason for that is the area of low pressure in behind that. We're already seeing some pretty gusty winds. Here's a current look at them. Note what's happening along the strait. Gusts about 115 kilometers per hour. We're going to see similar gusts like that up across the coastal areas of Labrador, where there still are winter storm and wind warnings. But I will break that down for you and get into the snowfall potential for Thursday.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the provincial Liberal Party cashed in on federal emergency supports during the pandemic to help pay employees. Now, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on the Premier to make the party pay it back. Now, the Taxpayers Federation found that the Newfoundland and Labrador Liberals received $35,000 from the Canada Emergency Wage and Rental Subsidy, and it received a $10,000 loan forgiveness from the Canada Emergency Benefit on a $30,000 loan it took out. Now, the Liberals are the only party in this province to benefit from the programs. The Liberal Party won't do interviews. Instead, it issued a statement. The party says the benefits were used to, quote, keep staff employed and maintain contractual obligations. And the party says any required repayments will be made. But the provincial opposition parties say the Liberals should not have taken any money meant for businesses struggling during the pandemic.
Flies in the face of what democracy is supposed to be, about openness and transparency here. This was about not-for-profit organizations being able to access money to make sure Boys and Girls Club stayed open and they could still provide programs and services. To me, the government should be embarrassed, and they should be ashamed to have actually accessed that money to keep an employee open so that he could run a campaign during an election.
They had to go to get $36,000 from this fund that could have been used to help smaller businesses and people who needed it most. I don't know how they can justify that in many ways. Keep in mind, this is also the party that, when we've asked about increasing the minimum wage, have resisted that.
Well, the PC and NDP leaders have thoughts on another topic. They say the province needs to be more forthcoming with details about the cyber attack that took out the healthcare computer systems more than a month ago. The Premier insists he can't reveal more information for security reasons. Here and Now's Peter Cowan was talking to the leaders today. So, Peter, what concerns did they raise?
Well, Carolyn, on the show last night, you saw that the Premier continues to dodge basic questions about the cyber attack, like whether the attack is over, whether a ransom has been demanded or paid. 5.5 weeks after the attack, there are still disruptions to the healthcare system. There are workarounds in place to get most services back. The province has healthcare systems back, but it doesn't have answers about the attacks that brought them down. The PC leader points out that a similar attack in Ireland was handled very differently. Officials there said it was ransomware right away and that they would refuse to pay. That's information that this province is keeping secret.
Need to know at what stages we are when it comes to getting our healthcare system up and running. And I know I've talked to some people in the healthcare system. They want to know that the information now is more secure than it was before. What are they doing? Who are they engaged through these processes? So there's a lot of unknowns here. There's a lot of information that they're not sharing that they could be sharing to reassure people that we're going to get back to normality and that the information that's there can't be hacked in the future.
The Premier isn't revealing details publicly, but what's he saying privately? That's what the NDP wants to know. Here is what the Premier had to say yesterday at a news conference and the concerns it raises for that party leader.
I've talked to all the other premiers about this as well. This is not, be very clear, it's not a Newfoundland and Labrador problem. This is a problem that touches all jurisdictions and will touch all jurisdictions.
He's sharing information with premiers and the Prime Minister that he can't share with us. That's unacceptable. It really needs to be I think for it to instill confidence, it's got to be transparent, and you've got to bring people up to speed.
The province hasn't said when it feels it will be able to share more details about the attack. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
The province's second largest community won't raise residential or business taxes in 2022, but Conception Bay South will charge more for water and sewer services. The town brought in a $37.2 million budget last evening. Right now, the cost for water and sewer is $590 a year. That fee will increase by $25 per household in the new year, as well as $5 for each student within the school district. Now, the town is waiving all new home construction permit fees, as well as most residential permit fees for the third year. It plans to spend approximately $20 million on capital works projects, including $90,000 for traffic calming projects to, of course, slow drivers down.
The City of St. John's is responding to criticism of its conflict of interest policy. This comes after questions about a councillor's real estate advertising. A Memorial University political scientist says it was wrong for Ron Ellsworth to suggest it might be possible to rezone a property he's selling. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
So, I mean, when I initially saw it, I thought it was in really poor taste, right?
The controversial advertisement was posted on Facebook by Ron Ellsworth. He's a St. John's councillor at large and a realtor. His post offers a property for sale for $2.4 million and says that with appropriate rezoning, it could be a condo development or a hotel. Of course, it's city councillors who approve or reject applications for rezoning.
It certainly creates an appearance of conflict of interest that he's mixing his private interests as a realtor with his responsibilities as a councillor.
Ellsworth didn't respond to CBC's requests for an interview. He emailed a statement saying he's done nothing that breaks the city rules. He also said he'd recuse himself if a property he's selling comes up at a council meeting. CBC News asked the mayor if he thinks Ellsworth's post is a conflict.
The conflict is, I can't make that decision because I don't know all the facts.
Russell Williams says if the city has no problem with Ellsworth's post, then the problem lies with the city's conflict of interest policy.
I would say that, yes, this is a conflict of interest, and if it's not, it's only because St. John's has been too slow in adopting more contemporary standards for how to manage a conflict of interest.
The mayor said the city recognized years ago that there are problems with its conflict of interest policy, and it's working with new legislation from the province to improve it. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, in local COVID-19 news, Eastern Health is advising everyone of a potential exposure at a St. John's funeral home. Anyone who visited the chapel at Barrett's Funeral Home on Hamilton Avenue, on that location there on December 4th, this past Saturday between 11 and noon, well, you should go to get tested for COVID-19. Now, the warning comes as Eastern Health's ongoing investigation into recent cases continues.
People go on, you don't look at what can happen, you don't look at those accident scenes that first responders show up to when vehicles are topped over and there's fatalities in it. Everyone is all pity and glory over the poor family for a minute or two, then boom, it's just forgotten about.
The transport truck driver says he frequently sees what you're seeing there, motorists taking foolish risks. It's a time of year to think about your driving. Stay tuned. Well, driving conditions tricky this time of year or any time of year depending on the drivers. Now, a trucker, Tony Power, recently got this footage from his rig. Just take a look at this. Watch this tight squeeze of stupidity. A close call that could have been so much worse. And Tony Power joins us now by phone in Port aux Basques, where the winds have got him waiting in his truck to make the crossing. Good evening, Tony.
Good evening. How are you?
Excellent. So tell me about this video that we're seeing here. Where did this happen?
It's about 10, 15 kilometres east of Doyle. So I was westbound and just coming out of a passing lane. I see this vehicle behind me, you know, like a truck length or two. Like I'm 75 feet long, so like 100, 150 feet behind me. And, you know, I was talking to my wife on the phone at the time because she was getting, the winds were up and she was monitoring it from home, so I don't have to stop and do it, right?
Right.
And anyway, came out of the passing lane, and you know, an everyday thing for truckers. Every second, we're always checking our mirrors. And when I looked, I see this vehicle coming, and I was well out of the passing lane. I said to my wife, "I was like, Jesus, where's he going?"
Yeah.
And there he was, right?
And meanwhile, you've got a truck coming towards you at the same time, almost.
Yes.
What did you make of what this driver was trying to do?
I guess I become immune to it. It's just an everyday thing, and to figure out what people are thinking, they can't be thinking, and or you know, you just get used to it, I guess, if there's any such thing.
Yeah. Now we have other videos from you, Tony. Just how often does this kind of thing happen? We have one now with a truck pulling a trailer in front of you.
Yeah, that was just outside of east of Glance, on the west coast there, like outside of Corner Brook, west of Corner Brook. And same thing, we got off of the boat that morning. This guy, just the same thing at the end of a passing lane, kept coming. You know, the signs is there, yield is on the road. The signs is on both sides of the road. Center lane has the yield, but you know, people just.
And I think in that video, I think we can see you actually pulling over the rumble strip there, right?
Yep. Yep.
Not a lot of fun. And you got another one here with a car in front of you, and then there's a pickup truck kind of roaring right up his arse at the speed of light.
Yeah, that was just, well, I was westbound that morning, and around the Foxtrap exit, they were putting in some new culverts, so it was down to one lane. And like I said, coming up, the do not pass signs were a couple of kilometres back the roads, all spaced out.
Yeah.
This one little car just had to come squat in there, the same thing, go to the rumble strip to try to avoid them, you know, because if I lock up the brakes, I'll lose control of my truck.
Oh, that's game over, right?
Game over. If you lose your steering and lose control, it's game over, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, luckily I slowed down.
You know, I'm thinking, you know, so often on Here and Now we'll report about fatalities on the roads, and when I look at some of the videos you sent, part of me was thinking this is what often happens just before those fatalities actually happen. What do you think would have to happen? I mean, you spend a lot of time on the roads. What do you think would have to happen to see this kind of driving stop?
I wouldn't know where to start. Like, okay, people watch this on your broadcast this evening, and it'll be like seven-day talk around the bay. After 7 days, it's over and forgotten about, and people go on. They don't look at what can happen. They don't look at those accident scenes that first responders show up to when vehicles are topped over and there's fatalities in it. Boom, everyone is all pity and glory over the poor family for a minute or two. Then boom, it's just forgotten about.
Very sobering words, Tony. Listen, before I let you go, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and sending those videos in because they certainly wake you up. You're stuck there because of the wind, right?
Yes, sir.
What's been going on?
Not a lot. You're just sitting around, out walking around. Hopefully the boat will go tonight. The winds are supposed to die off there, so, you know, she missed her sailing last night and this morning, so the commercial traffic is piling in here now. Hopefully we won't get a backlog like we had the last couple of weeks, and everybody to be short of goods again on your shelves.
All right. Well, listen, let's hope that. Listen, you have a safe trip across the water and safe driving, and we'll talk to you again someday soon, I have no doubt. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thanks, Andy.
All right, Tony Power in Port aux Basques, and he mentioned the winds there. And Ashley, one of the things he talked about with me before we started to roll that interview, apparently a tractor trailer flipping over in wreck house, as we have seen happen before on account of those winds.
Yeah, and it's been a fairly windy day pretty much right across the board, but not only was it windy, it was warm. Let's take a look at those numbers across the province. Daytime highs well above seasonal. This is 13 to 15 degrees. In fact, St. John's actually recorded a new record temperature today. There were a bunch of other records as well, no doubt, with these temperatures. And then even southeastern portions of Labrador, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Cartwright, Mary's Harbour, all seeing those temperatures above zero today, 7-8 degrees. And the reason for that was an area of low pressure. That cold front swept through earlier today, and now those showers have since ended for the eastern portion of the Avalon, and we're going to take that cloud cover right along with it with that cold front as well. But you can see that big drop in temperature. So if you went into a building this afternoon and are leaving within the next couple of hours, you're certainly going to feel a chill. 6 degrees now in St. John's, 2 in Gander. That temperature hovering around 1 degree in Corner Brook, and those temperatures have dropped like a rock across Labrador as well. Happy Valley, Goose Bay down to -9 as we speak. So the winds are going to continue though for the coastal areas of Labrador. Left that on for you tonight, the winds, and you can see they're going to continue for most right through the overnight. So still looking at those gusts between 90 to even 110 kilometers per hour in exposed areas as that area of low pressure continues to spin offshore. But it is going to move out, and the winds will eventually ease as we head through tomorrow morning. But overall, not a whole lot happening. As we get back into that westerly flow, though, potential for snow squalls again along the west coast. Could accumulate to about 2, maybe 4 centimeters of snow. Higher elevations will likely see a bit more than that. But that will be only if you see those persistent squalls. Otherwise, the eastern half of the island should clear out tonight, with those winds easing a little bit, gusting between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour through the overnight. And those winds will be out of the west, a little bit stronger on the west coast, about 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. But those temperatures well below zero tonight for you along the west coast, -3, -4. And then for St. John's, should go down to about -1 tonight. Winter storm warning still in place for northern areas of the Big Land and then coastal areas as well. Those wind warnings likely will not end until tomorrow morning, but a cold night in Lab City tonight, -25, with those winds gusting near 60 kilometers per hour. There's going to be quite the wind chill through the night tonight. Now, as we head through the day tomorrow, a fairly quiet day. Things will start to ramp up, though, for western areas of the island. The potential for snow squalls will continue through a good chunk of the day. Some of those squalls may reach central as well as along for the Burin Peninsula. And then as far as Labrador goes, things will generally quiet down through the afternoon, and then the winds will as well. And then the next weather maker moves in, some snow to start on Thursday. So as far as snowfall amounts go, like I said, for the west coast, generally 2 to 5 centimeters. Higher elevations, long-range mountains in particular could see those amounts closer to 15 centimeters by the time we get through the day on Wednesday. But overall, a fairly nice day. Chance of a few flurries for the Avalon. 3 degrees, so much cooler than today with those winds out of the west, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. As you head towards central, those temperatures will be in and around the 0 degree mark, with a few flurries possible for Twillingate as well. And then again, those snow squall potential for the west coast. Those winds out of the west about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour as you get into the afternoon hours. Some sunshine finally for Labrador, but much cooler than today. And those breezy winds as well will stick around. Temperatures much colder for Labrador as well. Lab City hovering around -21. And again, those winds still brisk, so we're still going to see some wind chill through the afternoon. Now, the next story really is the system moving in on Thursday. Just going to time this one out for you a little bit. This will be Thursday morning. That's when the snow should start. There's still lots of disagreement with this system, but this is just a quick idea. So by Thursday afternoon, looks like some heavy snow, certainly for at least the eastern half of the island. It's when we're going to see a potential for changeover to either ice pellets, freezing rain, or even altogether rain for southeastern portions of the Avalon. So definitely going to keep an eye on this one. But what does happen is in behind that, we're going to see it change back over to snow. Good potential to see some significant snow with this one. I'll get into those details when I come back.
So right on the start of the pandemic, I felt really sick.
When the pandemic started, everything get bad with me. I had to change my diet.
Newcomers to the province struggling with the price of food. It's a problem made even more complicated because of the pandemic. We'll explore that topic next. Well, coming to Canada can be an exciting time for many immigrants and other newcomers, but it can also come with challenges.
Yeah, according to Proof Canada, a research team that publishes annual reports on food insecurity, nearly 15% of households in the province struggle to put food on the table. And for newcomers, there can also be a struggle to find culturally appropriate foods.
Over the past couple of years, CBC NL partnered with Food First NL to explore the topic of food insecurity, and we're taking an in-depth look tonight.
So right on the start of the pandemic, I felt really sick.
When the pandemic started, everything get bad with me.
I had to change my diet.
Hi there, and welcome to a special installment of CBC Annals Fed Up series, which explores food insecurity in Newfoundland and Labrador. My name is Adib Rahman.
And I'm Mahmoudul Islam Shurov, and we're both founding members at NL Eats, a nonprofit in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador that helps people in need by providing food hampers and essentials.
Newfoundland and Labrador has some of the highest food insecurity rates in the country. This is something myself and Shurov has seen firsthand.
Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, more people are being impacted and facing bigger challenges than ever before. Among those particularly hit hard are newcomers and international students. We sat down with 3 individuals in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador who are or have faced food insecurity in the past year.
International students' fees is around, I think, 12 or 13,000 now, so I've been paying all of that. But had I been given a little bit more hours a week to work, then it would have been a lot easier, because I dropped a few semesters as well just to work full time, just so that I could collect the fees and pay it. I'm Janesh, 4th year computer science student. I got accepted into the honors program at MUN, and I came here in 2017. It's been a roller coaster ride, lots of ups, lots of downs. Particularly, I came to Newfoundland because of its affordable tuition cost at the university. And the other reason is I researched about the place itself, and I found the people here really nice and easygoing. It's very easy to get along in the society here with the community. It's easier to mix up with people. So right on the start of the pandemic, just when COVID had just entered, I felt really sick. So everyone was thinking I may be positive, but then they did my test and everything and result came negative. But that time it was a little bit difficult. Accessing the groceries was a little bit difficult, especially because of the bus, where only 9 people at a time were allowed in the bus. Any more than 9 they wouldn't accept. I think if we can invest a little bit more in street lights and transportation, things like, and make it more like a city, then it would be more easier for more people to come in here as well. So in the summer, I was supposed to start my work term with a local company here as a software developer, and I had tried a lot. Like throughout the 3 years here, I had all my decisions was based on my work term. So I got the job, I got the offer, everything, start date was fixed. But 1 month before I actually could start, my work term got cancelled because of COVID. So at that time, that 1 month, I had no job, and I was in a big state of depression. I never really understood for a long time in my life like what mental health is and how it can affect you. But it's only COVID-19 that has taught me how mental health, how important it is. And if your mental health is not good, then you don't feel interest in anything else.
I came here from my country. We're looking for better future for my kids. The English is not the mother language, so it was hard for me. And I am still stuck with strong words, or if it's important meeting or with a specialist, I can't to be alone. I have to with someone helping me with a translation. When the pandemic started, everything get bad with me. All my appointments cancelled. I need to meet my doctor, I need medicine, I need to go. I have no transportation. I check around me, all the people scared to contact with. I felt Like oh my God, I am stuck here alone. The amazing thing that happened with my close friend. She spoke with someone like volunteers. They helped me a lot with that for 6 or 7 months. Oh my God, like they saved me. Because my health situation, I can't go outside a lot. I can't contact with a lot of people in a small store or something. Without car, with a single mom, with the health condition, it's bad. I came here with beautiful dreams, but about my health condition, everything is gone. A lot of times I felt bad when I sit alone and crying. I need to go outside, I need to meet new people, I need to work, but I can't. I am still stuck with something bad in my heart, but I have big hope to be fine in the future and go to work. I need to say to all the people, same situation or little different, don't lose hope.
My full name is a bit long. If I were to say it in how it's supposed to be said in the format here, it's Aaron Waikit Tan, which is first, middle, last. I come from Malaysia, that's like 14,000 kilometers away. I do miss home a bit. I do miss the food at home. There's like street foods, there's local foods that you cannot get here, and I really do miss those. I had to change my diet. Like, I literally changed what I actually bought on a weekly basis. I used to buy from like meats, from chickens to pork, beef, and all sorts of vegetables, to now just sausages and maybe fish off and on, some meat here and there. I ended up buying a lot of rice, a lot of instant noodles, spaghetti, pasta, because they actually last longer. They have a really long shelf life. I don't have the ability to access funds. My parents are having a really hard time to send me funds because of how the COVID situation is back home. Sending money online is really not viable for them, so they have to physically go to the bank. And with the food shortages, with the transportation issue, it also becomes a barrier. I was staying at home a lot, so I do a lot of online interaction, and I guess I kind of let the online thing get to me. And because of that, I actually developed or redeveloped anxiety. I had to see a counselor. I even joined a group. It's like a group therapy session from SWCC at MUN. They helped me overcome my emotions, my anxiety. I would say try and make do with what you have. Like, don't really overspend, because that's kind of where things start to go bad when you overspend. I would say ever since then, it's been getting better.
CBCNL has launched its annual Make the Season Kind campaign to support food banks in the province. The fundraiser lasts all month, but Here Now will have special programming on Friday, our annual Feed NL Day.
Yes, join us on Friday as we continue to talk about this issue and raise money for the Community Food Sharing Association.
This year, we're connecting more, we're sharing more, and we're helping more. This season, whatever kind of season you make it, make the season kind.
The last few months of the pandemic have been the most deadly. Until September, central Newfoundland had no deaths linked to COVID-19, but now there have been 10 in the region, more than anywhere else in the province. So why have we had more than half of our total deaths in one region in just over 2 months? Well, Dr. Monica Dutt is the Medical Officer of Health for the area. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
How surprised are you by these numbers?
You know, the fact that 10 people have died in our area over the last few months, I think is really hard for everybody, both, of course, the families and the individuals and the communities and the people in healthcare and public health who have been trying to support families and individuals. You know, surprised, yes, and that of course we don't ever want to see a surge in people with severe illness or deaths, and we have been in a generally good place through most of the pandemic. You know, we have seen people who have died, which again we don't want to see, but it had been quite low. So the fact that so many people died in such a short amount of time was really quite tragic and sad, and I guess surprising in that we did not want or expect that to happen.
And I guess a lot of people kind of had the sense that we were turning the corner. Our vaccination numbers were going up, that, you know, things would be getting better rather than worse. So I want to ask you, do you have a sense of why these last couple of months have been more deadly than the previous, chunk of the pandemic?
I think people may know that, anytime you see a large number of people who are positive, there's going to be a percentage of those individuals who do get more severe illness, who do die. And we did see quite a lot of people who had COVID-19 over the last few months in Central Health. It's always hard to make conclusions around a small number of people, because although 10 people is still far too much, it's still 10 people out of millions in the world who have had COVID-19. I think though we did see some trends that we have been seeing across the country and the world, in that people who are not vaccinated, and particularly people who may be older adults who have other conditions, are at highest risk of having severe illness and of dying of COVID-19. And that is what we did see in Central Health and what we have been seeing.
So break that down for me. Of those 10 deaths that we've seen in Central, how many of those were people who were unvaccinated?
We've seen 9 of 10 people who were not vaccinated who have died of COVID-19.
And what does that tell you about the effectiveness of the vaccine?
Again, it's hard to say from 10 people to make generalizations, but that does go along with what is generally being seen more broadly, that being vaccinated, it doesn't stop the infection all the time. You can still get COVID-19 if you are vaccinated. You are much less likely to get it if you are vaccinated, and you're more protected against severe disease and against death. So that does seem to bear out in what we have been seeing in Central Health.
We know from research elsewhere that the Delta variant has generally led to more severe disease. That's the variant that we've been dealing with primarily in Newfoundland and Labrador lately. What role do you think that might have played in seeing this increase in the number of deaths?
I think that probably did play a role. It really is all that we've been seeing in the province. We know that it does tend to cause more severe disease, and we did see that with our population and the people who did get sick with that. I will say we have still relatively smaller numbers compared to the country and the world. So it is hard to make conclusions from what we saw, because it is such a small population overall. But again, the trends were similar to what we do know about Delta, and also the fact that some people are more likely to get severe disease than others, and that is what we saw.
What sort of lessons can we learn from these outbreaks that we've seen in Central going forward through sort of the next phase of the pandemic?
I think a lesson in general is that vaccination does protect people from severe illness and death, and that is why we're continuing to encourage people to be vaccinated. I think also the fact that, even if you are vaccinated, some people might still get the illness. And again, if you're higher risk for severe illness, even if you're vaccinated, you may still face that. So we do want to protect people. So that is why we also very much encourage people who may not be at higher risk of disease to still be vaccinated, including now children, because not only does it protect them, it does also protect the adults and older adults around them. So I think that is still one of the biggest lessons from all of this. Vaccine is just one piece of what we do to protect ourselves, but it's such a big piece, and we are seeing in our province that it really does help.
Dr. Monica Dada, thanks so much for joining me and sharing your insights.
Thank you very much.
Well, Advent calendars come in an endless variety of styles, and the latest trend is luxury. One of the most talked about has been produced by the French fashion house Chanel. And as the CBC's Jacqueline Hansen tells us, it's getting a lot of social media attention for more than just its hefty price.
I've never seen a Chanel advent calendar. So
It started out as a simple unboxing on social media.
10 out of 10 on the packaging front.
A first look inside Chanel's exclusive advent calendar. The company calls it a collector's item made in ultra-limited quantities with an ultra-elite price tag of $1,025 Canadian. But for this TikTok user, it didn't live up to the hype.
Okay, this has to be a joke. This is a joke. Stickers? Stickers?
Her reaction has racked up more than 14 million views. But what's inside the calendar shouldn't actually come as a surprise. It's all laid out on Chanel's website, some full-sized items, some branded trinkets. And if a product's worth is defined by what people are willing to pay, on eBay, some resellers are now pricing it at more than $2,000.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So there may indeed be, many happy owners of Chanel's advent calendar out there who haven't bothered to tell the world about it on social media.
But more disappointment followed, along with a flood of negative comments on all of Chanel's social media platforms. Then,
Chanel just blocked me.
but Chanel calls that claim absolutely inaccurate. The company says it has never blocked access to the Chanel TikTok account to anyone because it is simply not active. It also says it is sorry that this calendar may have disappointed some people.
Really,
This digital media strategist says it shows how quickly misinformation can spread.
They're not reporters, they're not fact checking. They're seeing a situation happen and they're steamrolling on the opportunity because for them, it does build their audience, which is ultimately what they want.
For Chanel to get its message heard, it may have to break its TikTok silence.
This is absolutely a lesson in brand strategy and how you speak to a Gen Z audience.
Still, Chanel's calendar opened up a few free days of publicity, whether that was the intention or not. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, before we get to the weather, Ashley, how many Christmas trees do you have in your house?
One.
I have one too. But if you're looking to beat the world record for having the most Christmas trees in one place, here's how.
Yeah, you just need to have one more than this couple in Germany. The current record holders want to keep their top spot this year, too. A judge from the German World Record Institute visited their house to do a head count. 444 trees.
Wow, in one place. Gee. Well, no one has stepped forward to threaten the couple's world dominance yet, but of course we do have more than 2 weeks before Christmas. So you never know. That's a lot of decorating.
I don't even know where they would put all of those Christmas trees when they put it away. Maybe they just change it up a little bit. But, you know, it's going to start feeling a lot more like Christmas after a mild November and most of a mild December so far. Things are about to change. We are looking at our next weather maker moving in. Thursday morning is when we're going to start to see that snow across most of the island. This will mainly affect the island. And then as we head into the afternoon, it does look like there's a potential to see a changeover for at least part of the Avalon in the afternoon, and the heaviest snow looks like it should fall just west of the Avalon at this point. Now, there's still a lot to iron out with this one, but it does look like there's some pretty significant snow on the way for a good chunk of eastern half of the island, but temperatures will be below zero. So again, a big temperature swing, 1 degree for St. John's and the Avalon, hence that changeover potentially to either ice pellets, freezing rain, or rain altogether for a short period of time. But the rest of the island should be sitting well below zero. And then up across Labrador, your temperatures around -22. So holding on to those cool temperatures for Lab City. So this is a quick idea of what I'm thinking as far as snowfall amounts go. Like I said, just west of the Avalon, probably closer to 35 centimeters is likely. But we could see, 20 plus centimeters for most of the Avalon. And then as you head further west, less snow, but there is still a good chance that we could see that as well. I'll definitely iron out the details for tomorrow and have a full forecast as far as that snow goes. But after Friday, that should end. We're looking at those temperatures back down into the minus single digits. And then as far as the weekend goes, we're looking at those temperatures back up again as we get into Sunday with some windy conditions. Same thing as you head towards western Newfoundland as well. And then even a warm up for eastern Labrador and western Labrador back into the minus single digits. Maybe a brief chance of some changeover for eastern Labrador in the form of ice pellets, but definitely the next weather maker to pay attention to. But after all that rain today, it turned out to be a very nice evening, and Gina shared this shot with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Nice colors there.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I gotta try and go and beat that record and get going with the trees down.
It was a lot of trees.
Yes,
Yep.
it was.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow.
Well, good night, everyone.
Good night.